Good evening and welcome to Gender Space, a program brought to you by the Commission for Gender Equality right here on Bumakapa TV, channel 260. I am your host for this evening, Nobathembu Kani. The Commission for Gender Equality in the Eastern Cape Province rolls out what is called gender mainstreaming workshops and training sessions to ensure that gender equality is implemented in all aspects of life. We are joined this evening by the Commission's manager in the Eastern Cape, Mr. Nceba Mkhwebo, who will tell us more about that, and the CGE's Commissioner, Ms. Nomasonto Mazibuko, who will explain to us how the rights of people with disabilities are also protected through gender mainstreaming. Good evening and welcome to Gender Space.
Thank you. Good evening.
Mr. Mkhwebo, we'll start off by you. Can you tell us what gender mainstreaming is and what results is the Commission hoping to achieve?
Good evening, Nobathembu, and good evening to your viewers. The gender mainstreaming is a project that the Commission is embarking on. It's informed by the international instruments, which is your Beijing Platform for Action, as well as the United Nations, one of the principles for United Nations. The gender mainstreaming is a process where you take the views of both men and women, that they inform part of any plan, program, or policy, that the views of both men and women needs to be given expression into the programs of any plan or policies. So the Commission for Gender Equality is looking at the integrated development plans of the municipalities in assessing them in terms of making sure that both men and women views are given an expression into the IDPs. We look at whether the IDPs do respond to issues of gender equality. They do respond to issues that are impacting on society, like gender-based violence and women empowerment. We also assess the IDPs in terms of making sure the services that are rendered by municipalities, they are gender desegregated, in terms of making sure that if municipalities are saying they are providing houses, are those houses gender desegregated in terms of numbers, or how many women, how many men have benefited? So the gender mainstreaming is looking at the both views of men and women, that they inform integral part of any planned program or interventions. Mm-hmm. So the CGE, again, in terms of gender mainstreaming, we understand that women are not a homogeneous group. There are also women with disabilities. So we need to make sure that within the employment opportunities within these municipalities, persons with disabilities, they are given a fair treatment, they're given a fair opportunities to be part of the employment, not only to be part of the employment, but also on the program that the municipality renders to communities. They are also beneficiaries of such programs.
Okay, I hear you talking about municipalities. Can you tell us in which parts of the Eastern Cape has the gender mainstream program been rolled out, and how has the response been from the public?
For the Eastern Cape, for the fiscal year 2019-2020, we targeted 3 municipalities. One of the municipalities is Imbasha Local Municipality under Amatole District Municipality. One of the municipalities is Mhlonhlo Local Municipality under OR Tambo District. And then we took Krisani District and we selected Engcobo Local Municipality. The reception in terms of the municipality response on our gender audit tool, I would say it has been fair. There are those municipalities that have cooperated with us, or that have responded to the audit questionnaire, like Umbashe Local Municipality, for an example. Some of the 2 municipalities did not even actually respond, despite the fact that we have met with the leadership, including the mayors, the councillors, and the managers in those municipalities. Hence, then we rope in stakeholders such as SALGA going forward to make sure when we go again to the municipality that we selected for the current fiscal year, we are going again with SALGA so that there is a buy-in There's a cooperation from the municipalities.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhwebo. Speaking about people with disabilities, what are the interventions that the Commission has implemented to make sure that their rights are protected?
The first thing I would like to talk about is that commissioners are employed by Parliament, and Parliament has done a stunning job whereby they employ young women and women with disabilities. The Commission has looked into the gender mainstreaming, where we are saying women, as Neba has said, we are not homogeneous. There are women of other race groups. There are women with disabilities. There is the LGBTIQ, where we must see to it that all those women are represented. But the issue is that women in the municipalities must be given a fair chance. Speaking for that issue, we're speaking about employment in the municipality, where we will see that there is the 7% still not achieved by the municipality at the workplace. So it is very important for the Gender Commission to watch and monitor to say, is that going on? Because the municipality works for 5 years. Within these 5 years, women with disabilities must be seen not to be sidelined or overlooked. They must be included. And as we're looking at the substantial goals, no one should be left behind.
Thank you, Commissioner Mazibuko. Clearly, there's still a lot to unpack when it comes to issues relating to gender mainstreaming. So please stay tuned as we come back after the break. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Gender Space right here on Bumagapa TV. Let us take a listen to some of the challenges that Commissioner Mazibuko has raised before on the state of people with disabilities in South Africa.
Girls and women with disabilities are affected by, one, the scenario at home, the scenario at the community level, the scenario at work, and at places of education, where you find that most of the time, those people who are born with a disability, their families are almost not prepared, because it's very rare when you are told that your child is going to have a disability. It always comes as a surprise to the mother at the labor ward. And then later on in life, when you go to school, you find that at school itself, it becomes difficult when you're not taken straight away to the school where you've got a child with disabilities, to the special schools. But when you go to a mainstream school, you have always to assert yourself and achieve better. At the workplace, you have to look for reasonable accommodation, and people don't understand why you must be accommodated reasonably. And reasonable accommodation is where people think maybe you are favored, but they don't take it as your right to be accommodated reasonably.
That was Commissioner Mazibuko giving us an overview of challenges faced by people with disabilities in South Africa. Now, Commissioner, what needs to be done to bring change and solutions to the problems faced by people with disability, especially when it comes to women?
Well, thanks, Nobathembu. It is a very wide question, but let me try and bring it to a solution that will be user-friendly. One, people with disabilities must be accepted from home. Families don't understand why they've got a person with disability. Two, people with disabilities themselves, especially women, must be given the courage to have the self-esteem of trusting themselves. Three, when we go to school, we must be given tools where we would face the world. Remember, disability is not a temporary issue. We are going to be disabled up to the grave, specifically to those of us who are born disabled, unless a person acquires the disability through accident or becomes blind at a later stage. But to change the mindset of the people is to have the self-confidence first, have the love from the family, have the love and the support of the educators. Then by the time you go to the bigger scenario on the world, the people, as you go on in life, the attitudes of the people changes. All we need to do, and that we expect to be done to us after changing and accepting ourselves, change the attitude towards people thinking, shame, she's disabled, leave her there. Shame, let's talk about it. I will tell you of a scenario. When you go to hospital, you have an assistant. They don't ask you, Nobatembu, as a person who's assisting me. You ask my assistant to say, what is wrong with her? No. Ask me how I'm feeling this morning so that that perception and attitude will change. And the main theme is to accept us for who we are. Don't want us to change and acclimatize to you. For instance, Neba was talking about a ramp. It is universal access. Make a ramp. And I can tell you, as I came in here, there are steps, but there's a ramp. I am accommodated, and it's inclusivity of not thinking about us as a last resort. Oh, we've done this policy. We've spoken about us, everything. What is going to happen with a person with a disability? Not that I don't eat what you eat, as you will do. But people always think, oh, shame, what should we do with them? Take for who we are and include us. And the most important, what will make us change is respect to me as a human being.
Now, Commissioner, in places of school and work, people with disability require reasonable accommodation. Can you tell us what this means?
Reasonable accommodation doesn't start at school, doesn't go further to the workplace. It starts at the family unit. When I'm born as a disabled person, my whole family changes to receive this child with a disability. They must now include me by their attitude. I'm not going to be compared to you as Nobatembu because you are my elder sister. Attend to me for who I am. I can crawl, I can't see, I must go nearer to the television set. Don't say I'm transparent. And let me educate the viewers today. We eat whatever you eat. And all we need to do is to learn more about us. I would like us to look at the issue of autism. Autism is a form of a disability, but it happens 75% of it with corrections. Goes to the male factor, which is boys. They are found out very late in their lifespan to say they've got autism. The system in the society or in the country doesn't acquire them to tell us how do we detect a child. That child at school, the educators themselves are not ready because they are not taught that there are people with disabilities. What type of disabilities? And there are those disabilities that are non-communicable, which we are facing today as a country of wellness. So many people are stressed from the age of 4 because you've lost your parents, you're not happy at home, you were abused sexually, you have been quiet. Immediately you've got a disability because you are not well mentally. Let's go further. And the educators will not want to accommodate you. That reasonable accommodation starts there. And once you are doing your testing, each and every hour, a person with disability needs 15 minutes. The educators think they are doing you a favor. And the educators that think that you are going to be spoiled. Oh, the previous teacher used to spoil you. I need large print. The educator thinks, why don't you look at it, bring it next to your eyes? I don't want to do that. Enlarge it, for crying out loud. It becomes worse because you go through matric, and once you write your matric at education, I'm finishing, then I'm giving that latitude. When you go into university, higher education, will have a disability desk. Is it well equipped? Do they know of the types of disability? And after higher education, we are thrown at this big ocean, which is employment. Employment equity, as you sit there to be employed as a person with disability, you look at the panelist, it tells you immediately that you are not accepted. Because if you employ a person with disability, firstly, your reasonable accommodation is the office space.
Okay.
It's the toilet. It's the attitude of the people. They don't look at you once, they look at you twice. And people at the workplace, they don't look at your disability. They look at what you are wearing and say, she too is fashionable. Why? My reasonable accommodation then goes to the tools of trade. My reasonable accommodation then goes to your attitude towards promotion. Why will I not be promoted? Why must I fight to be promoted after 10 years? The reasonable accommodation is so wide that you keep on pushing it to the employer. You keep on pushing it to the educator. You keep on pushing it at your home. When you are sent to go and get a Vaseline, you don't see the small bottle that your mother is sending you. And what does she do? She pushes you down the table. Are we born? Can't you see it? So I'm not accommodated reasonably, And that is what we say. Reasonable accommodation is a practice towards perfection, is a practice towards accommodating me as a person. And my neighbor and myself in this episode are talking about attitude and taking people for granted and being homogeneous. Women are not homogeneous. We are different in our style, in our thinking, in our attitude. So I must be accommodated reasonably, especially at the workplace, because we have come there and we must be treated equally. Equal rights for equal work that has been done. I can do the same work, but because I'm looked as a person with disability, I will have to negotiate my pay. No, don't do that. Okay. If you put me in the certain category, it should go for all women to say we all deserve the same treatment.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mazibuko. As you've heard, there's still a lot to be done when it comes to reasonable accommodation, not only by the society, but it starts with us at home. Join us as we continue after the break. Come back from the ad break. You're still watching Gender Space right here on Bomakapa TV, a program brought to you by the Commission for Gender Equality. Neba, as we wrap up, what are some of the challenges that are faced by people with disability here in the province?
Some of the challenges that are faced by people with disability is a non-compliance by both private and the state in terms of Section 6 of the Employment Equity Act, where there are persons with disabilities, they are not given any fair opportunities when it comes to employment. You will also remember that we have a white paper on persons with disability, which talks about to say nothing without us about us. We'd also put a quota that persons with disability, they must make 7% in terms of their employment. But you'll find that quota has moved from 2 to 7. But again, we did not reach the 2% that was a target then. Now the new target is 7%. So there is a non-compliance, and there is also, in terms of the non-compliance, there seems to be no consequence for those that are not complying with the white paper on disability in terms of employing 7% of persons with disability. And some of the challenges that are faced when it comes to basic education is that we have designated schools that are meant for learners with disability. Some of these schools are not adequately resourced in terms of making sure that there is physiotherapists that are there, that attend to learners. There is also psychologists that are there. There is also social workers, as well as educators that respect human rights and the rights of learners with disability. And some of the learners in these infrastructure or in these schools some of them are faced with challenges of being sexually violated. If you talk about schools such as in Tata, Efata, and so forth, Vukuhambe in Tanzania, there have been incidences reported in such schools. And some of the challenges, again, is a challenge pertaining to persons with albinism, in particularly young boys and young girls who are targeted. You will notice some provinces such as Mpumalanga and provinces such as Gauteng, and the recent case of a person that was found trafficking children out of the country to Mozambique, because there is this perception that if you get the body parts of a person with albinism, you will get richer. Which is something that we should not tolerate as a society. And we hope that it does not escalate into other provinces, this kind of violation of rights of persons with albinism. And also, again, we seem to have challenges when it comes to infrastructure, provisions of housing. When these houses are built, they are not built in a manner that accommodates the rights of everybody, including the persons with disabilities. You'll find, in terms of accessibility, in particular for the government houses, RDP houses, what we call RDP houses, they are not accommodative of persons with disability. There are no ramps that are made. Even the private rooms that are made, they don't have wide doors that accommodate them so that they can get in and out easily without getting assistance. So those are some of the challenges that we face in terms of the Eastern Cape province. But again, when you employ that person inside, again, they are not given the tools of trade. They are not given the issues of reasonable accommodation. You'll find you employ a social worker, knowing very well that this social worker is a person with a disability, but she can drive the car. But when it comes to make her application so that she gets a car that is accommodated for her to be able to drive, now she is put in the office, but most of the time she's supposed to interact with communities. But because government is not providing such tools of trade, that person then becomes despondent, and some of them end up leaving their employment because they are not given the tools of trade. So those are some of the challenges that are faced, in particular when it comes to employment of persons with disability in public sector. In the province of the Eastern Cape, when we talk about provincial governments, they don't provide some of them the tools of trade to persons with disabilities.
Okay. Thank you, Ngaba, for highlighting that it is everybody's responsibility to make sure that people with disabilities, their rights are adhered to. Thank you for watching tonight's episode of Gender Space. Don't forget to catch us once again next week as we continue discussing issues of gender equality. Remember, you can lodge any gender discrimination complaints on the toll-free number, which is 0800 007 709, and you can also visit their website for more information. From me, Noba Tembukani, and the rest of the Gender Space team, good night.